My Tundra is about a year old at this point, and over the past year, you guys have seen this thing go through quite a few changes, starting off fairly simple with a tonneau cover and a rooftop tent, all the way up to a full-blown slide-in camper. But today, we're talking about the newest iteration of the truck, which basically blends the best of both of those worlds. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Talon and I make new videos every single week. So if you like what you see in this video, I would appreciate it if you considered clicking subscribe. I make new videos every week, and there's going to be a lot more coming down the line on this new product that we're talking about right here. If you caught the last video, then you already have a very good insight as to what is going on the back of my truck here. At the beginning of the year, I said I wanted to test out a lot of different camping solutions other than my typical go-to tonneau cover, rooftop tent. I've done a few things mixed around in there, sleeping on like ground setups. And throughout this year, we're going to cover a lot more too. Maybe some hammocks, maybe some new rooftop tents. But since my Tundra, 3rd gen 2024 Tundra here, has a 6.5 foot bed, I figured I would blend the best of both of those worlds that I've already tested out on this truck. And I landed on this solution right here, coming from a company called Antishanty. They're based out of Logan, Utah. I've done a full shop tour with them in the previous video. So if you guys haven't caught that yet, check it out right up here in the corner if you want an inside look at this small American-made company. You guys know I love that stuff here on the channel, so I'm stoked to have this guy on the back of my truck right here. This is known as the Antishanty Dwell Shell. Now, I came across the Dwell Shell about a year ago when they first started prototyping this product, and it has come quite a long way since then. I was really excited when I first saw it because this is really taking innovation that you don't see very often in the overland world, at least not over the past couple of years. And this is something that I never really have seen before. It may look familiar in some ways, but because of their innovation, they added things specifically to the dwelling portion of this Canopy camper. And I think it's going to be a very cool way to explore around in a full-size truck like this. So the Dwell Shell is essentially a canopy camper, but with a lot more functionality than some others that are offered on the market right now. A canopy camper is a shell, like a bed cover like you see here, plus a dwelling or a tent on top. I may refer to this as a tent throughout this video and in future videos, but it is way more than a tent. It's basically a hard-sided camper because of the construction materials that they use to build these things. Now, I worked pretty closely with Antishanty while this thing was being built, and I basically took all of the options on their website and I completely packed this thing with everything that they offer because I want to show you guys what this company can do. That being said though, there are a lot of standard features that you get with a regular Dwell Shell, and then I just added on top of that. I even put some of my own personal touches on it too, and we'll cover all of that stuff in this video. But first off, let's talk about some of the main features of the Dwell Shell. So let's first start off with the features of the shell itself, the lower portion of this camper, the things that you can actually interact with all of the time. The shell is all aluminum, laser cut and formed, and it's a riveted construction. There are 3 side locking doors, one on each side and one of course on the tailgate side as well. You can lock them from both the inside and the outside. One feature that I really like about these locks specifically is the way they function. Instead of spinning this all the way around like a normal key, you only have to do a tiny degree of a turn to get that thing to unlock, and you can get access to the inside of the camper. Now, if you want to lock it, you can close it and use the key again, or I can simply flick the lock, close this thing up, and now it's locked and secure. This thing is weather sealed, of course. You can see there's water and mud all over the side of the truck, but everything in here is nice and clean. Now, the way that this thing actually fits on your truck is going to differ depending on the year, make, and model, of course. Since I have a 6.5 foot bed, there is so much room all throughout this thing, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's going to determine how long these panels actually are. They're really built to order, so depending on what vehicle you have, there's a really good chance that Antishanty does make a Dwell Shell for it. And throughout this video, if you're looking for even more information, you can, of course, click the link in the description down below. So this is what the shell portion looks like in its completely open configuration. It actually provides a little bit of shade depending on where you're at. If it's high noon in the middle of the summer, you actually get a little bit of shade here without having the need for an awning. So that is one of the features that I already really like. And since everything up until this point is standard, we're just going to dive straight into the features that I've added to the shell itself to make it a little bit more functional and really tailor it towards what I plan on doing with the Dwell Shell setup. So taking a look at this setup now, I mean, there is so much room in here, more than my slide-in camper, because I of course have the wheel wells here. Previously, the camper had to fit in between there. So now I have more space, a little bit more modularity too, because of some of the options in here, like all of these molly panels. Like I said, I did basically build this camper out with all of the features that they offer. So on the front here, I am running some of their molly panels. They're standard molly panels, which will fit basically any accessory that you may have. And because this bed is so long, I can actually fit 4 panels, 2 on each side. For now, I have them positioned up front. There is no gear mounted on them currently, but we'll get into that once we start building this thing out. Another version of this that they offer is a molly cabinet over here. So this is basically, in my opinion, for outside storage. I can still mount molly accessories on the inside here, but it's kind of like for wet and dry. It does have a removable shelf liner in here, so nothing rattles around. I can take that out if I need just a little bit more space. And for now, I just have an extra solar panel, jacket, some random things like that in here. I'm thinking going forward, this would be a good place for like a kitchen setup. I could put a little burner in there, maybe some utensils, spices, and things like that. That way I don't have to climb up inside of the bed to get things like that out. I use cooking stuff basically more than anything else while I'm camping, so I'm thinking that's what's going to go there, but we'll figure that out in the future. You will notice this entire camper is held on by these C-clamps here. You could run basically as many as you want. We opted for 3 on each side. It is a good idea to torque those things down to spec after you are off-roading for a little while. I have spent 2 nights in this camper already, a little bit of mild off-roading all the way up to the point that I'm at right now. And so far, everything is holding extremely solid. Now, just behind me here is another option that I added. You can opt for both a cab side and a tailgate side window. The reason I really wanted this was so, of course, I could see out of the back of the truck. Now, another really cool thing about the cab side and tailgate side window that I didn't really think of at the time of install, I was just thinking about it for this right here. I can see all the way through and out the rear window, so I can see traffic behind me. Just gives you better visibility overall. But I have features on this truck that make it even cooler. I of course have the digital rear view mirror here, and I basically zoomed this thing in and positioned it. That way I have an even better view out of here, both in the daytime and at night. So I previously didn't really care for that. I never used it, but now I've been using it for the past week straight, and it has been awesome. Another thing is that when the truck is in a drive mode, if I tap view, I of course have 360 views all around this truck, but I also have a bed view. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell because of the lighting in the truck right now, but I have a full view of everything inside of my bed right here. So I can see if things are sliding around, if I have something back there that like tips and falls over, I can see that while I'm driving down the road. You can even see the red lights in there that I have on. So pretty cool touch. This window in particular is really cool because it does slide open. And now if I open the truck window, I could actually reach through and grab things. I don't think I'll ever actually need to do that, but the one thing that I really love about the cab side window is that there are little latches right here, which if you spin down, you can actually pull this entire window out to get in here and actually clean it. A lot of shells will have that completely fixed in place, and then if it's very close to the back side of your truck, it makes it really difficult to clean. So I like that that thing is removable. Maybe if it's just really hot and I want some more ventilation in here, I could completely remove that and have air circulating all throughout. But then again, since everything opens up like this, there's a ton of ventilation, cross breeze through here, and it really brings like the outdoor living inside. That is also a reason why I opted for this section back here. Instead of running another molly panel or a molly cabinet, I decided to run some of their coat hooks. Right now I just have a camp pillow and an extra blanket riding on these hooks here. You can hang backpacks. I was hanging my helmet after skiing, wet ski gear, basically anything you want. They are riveted into place and I feel like they could handle quite a lot of weight. So those are the main extra features that I'm going to be interacting with all of the time. This next one is going to be beneficial for people who maybe don't have their own bed lights in here. Whenever I have a door or the tailgate open on this truck, these bed lights are going to illuminate. I can turn it off from inside of the cab, but having light back here is definitely very important. So to take things a little bit further, we do have a power system in here. It is very simple, very modular, and you can basically run any electronics off of anything that you want. This is a very simple solution for this setup, and again, I'm going to build things out further in the future, but for now, I just threw in one of my favorite power stations right here. And yes, there are electronics actually wired into this thing right now. 3 different components, all of which are options, so let's take a look at those. So taking a closer look at my battery setup right here, you will notice it is full, and it was actually just charging a second ago. I have 2 cables running into it. All of that stuff I will clean up in the future. I have 1 cable for a solar panel, which is actually mounted to the dwelling of this, and then I have another power cable here, which powers a few different things. So over here on the left side of the camper, you will notice a switch. If I tap that, there's also a dial here to adjust. Now on all 3 doors of the shell portion, there's a new product that I'm actually testing out. This one is a little bit custom. They have not put these in anything else before, but these are new lights from Kingpin. There are a few different options that you can choose here. So I'm running 40-inch light strips all the way around the bottom of this camper, and at night, it looks so awesome. Each light bar can be controlled individually, so it has a on and off switch. I have just been keeping all of these lights on and then just controlling them with a master switch here. So you'll notice if you look at the light, which is in a red mode right now, if I click that, it will turn off. And then when I come out here to set up camp at night, I just simply tap the master switch and it will turn all of those lights on. Now on the individual lights next to the power button, you can tap it and actually put it in a white mode as well. So for these, we have a white mode, a red mode, and then over by the master switch, I can actually dim these all the way down to kind of like a chill mode. You can barely even see it while the sun is out, but the power draw is very low. All of the lights are currently on and it's barely even noticing a draw. We got 1 watt and then 0 watt. On its full brightness setting, they're drawing about 31, 32 watts. So I would be able to run this thing basically for an entire day on full blast. And this battery right here would handle all of that. Now you will also notice another cable right here next to that master switch, and that is running into the tail light of this truck, because another option that I chose is right above the rear glass window here, we have a 3rd brake light. So that simply wires in. If I ever need to take the camper off, I can simply quickly disconnect that and lift the thing off. By the way, how much does something like this weigh? They start about 365 pounds, and they will of course go upwards from there depending on your year, make, and model of the truck. Mine is sitting just under 400 pounds. I'm thinking it's about 385 to 395. I never had the chance to actually weigh the truck and then reweigh it with the camper on there. But for everything that you get here, it is relatively lightweight. Now, because you can latch, lock, and unlock all of these doors from the outside, I've actually been sleeping with my tailgate up and all of the doors closed to keep in any kind of heat that I may have. That way, everything back here is self-contained. My power unit, which is just sitting in my bed here, is going to stay out of the elements. And this thing also powers a little bit more than what we just showed you. To show you the rest, though, we're going to have to actually set up the dwelling portion of the Dwell Shell. Now, the way this works is fairly simple, but I'm going to bet that you've probably never seen anything like this before. There are 2 latches, one on the back of each corner here. They are, of course, both keyed the same, and it only requires a 1/4 turn to get that thing to unlatch. They are aluminum. So far, they've been really tight, and it seems like they are very well built. I don't think anything will jeopardize that in the future, and it looks like this latch is even adjustable. So if you want it to be just a little bit tighter, I could loosen these screws and make it even tighter. Now I'm gonna unlatch the other side. And now for the fun part. If I come to the inside, this of course does have a pass-through design. So now all I have to do is simply push up, and that's the first step to getting this thing all dialed in. Now coming up inside here, you will already notice some personal touches. We of course had to put some SEI camo on the outside of this portion, but I really want to show you how these locking mechanisms work. All you have to do is simply push and turn, and then the walls will fall down into place. Now, since this thing is pretty tall, I like to reach up here and actually pull it down closer to myself so I can reach this next latch. Again, simply press and turn, and then the next side will fold down. And now for the final portion, I'm gonna reach up here and undo 2 latches on the last door. This is the part where you have to duck down just a little bit. And now I'll push the final door out into place and then pull the whole camper down. From here, I can actually unlatch 3 more doors, one on the left side, one on the right side, and one in the front. And now I can reach out here, lock this thing down into place, and just like that, we're set up for camping. So now I'll bring you guys up into the actual dwelling portion of this, and you will notice the massive pass-through here, which has a lot of benefits. One of them, of course, being that I can stand up inside of here and completely move around freely. So the second day I actually had this camper, I took it out skiing with some friends in Lake Tahoe, and I was able to stand up in here, put some boots on, and basically get ready in the comfort of a camper that in inclement weather can be completely sealed up. If I just close each of these doors, maybe I'd like to keep that one open. All of these doors are still going to keep some of the elements out. They basically act as awnings, and it just entirely transforms the inside of this truck bed. Now for the standard features, like I mentioned about the shell, the dwelling portion has the same locking mechanisms, which you can open up just like that, close them up, and lock it. They also come standard with windows on each of the side doors here, which you can open up. They are awning style, so if it's raining, you could technically have these open. And then if I pull it closed, it also has a little quarter lock here. That way you can get a little bit of extra ventilation inside of the sleeping portion. Now that being said, there is pretty good ventilation up in each of the corners at the top here. For the 2 nights that I've already spent inside of this new setup, I've actually been using this guy right over here, which is a diesel hose pass-through. Now my diesel heater setup is not the greatest. It's just a really cheap Amazon product. I got it for like 150 bucks, but it did keep it very warm in here thanks to the construction. So when it comes to the construction of the Dwell, this isn't just made with standard aluminum that's riveted together like the shell portion, but this is actually made out of insulated aluminum composite panels. You'll find those panels on the sleeping portion of the camper as well as the roof. Now, as far as extra features go, you guys can probably already tell, but we took this marine grade foam that they typically have topography on, and this is where I put my own touch on it. We actually cut out a version of SEI camo into this even more insulated material. So it's on the headliner and on all of the walls throughout this thing. It looks really cool. The entire camper is of course very angular, so Antishanty actually uses topography standard to kind of soften things up a little bit. I just went full bore and just kept everything really angular, and I think it really ties everything together. They have a really nice laser cut logo over here. And this stuff is super water resistant, so if at any time there is condensation in here and opening the windows doesn't dry it out, I don't have to worry about anything in here getting a little bit damp. Same thing goes for the actual sleeping area. As of right now, this thing comes standard with a 1/2 inch of this foam here, so even this stuff can take moisture on top of it and it's not going to suck up inside of it, which is really going to preserve the longevity of a setup like this. There's no wood, there's no fabric or canvas to get moldy. Everything in here is essentially closed cell foam, marine grade foam like this. Actually, it's the same as on my tailgate pad right there. I don't foresee elements ever being an issue with the Dwell Shell. Now for the extra power accessories that I was talking about when we were down below, right here I have a USB charging station, 2 USB-C ports and a USB-A port. All of this stuff here did come wired in very nicely, and all I had to do was really plug it into my battery source. Now you'll notice if we follow this super clean wiring, which you can barely see here, there's another switch over here on the inside. It's a master switch, just like the one found down below, and if I tap that button, we have a light that is dimmable on the inside of the camping portion as well. Again, this is a smaller kingpin light. This is, I believe, the 10-inch version. And this is the initial setup. I think there is room where I could even put 40s in here. As of right now, I only have one light. This is adjustable, both red and white like the other one, and I've really been a fan of these so far. But I think I could use maybe another 10-inch over on this side, or maybe we go crazy and put 40s on the inside as well. There's plenty of space in here when the tent portion or the dwelling portion is actually closed up. So I think that may be a change that you guys will see in the future. And then last but not least, directly above us here, another option that you guys can choose is a Dometic fan. Haven't had to use this yet because the weather only recently started getting nice. But when I spin that, the hatch opens. I have an intake and exhaust setting. I think for the most part, I'm going to have this fan exhausting, and then all I have to do is flick the switch. And now it is sucking air through the camper and exhausting it out through the roof. 3 different speed settings here. If you like white noise while you sleep, which I do, that's definitely going to drown out any noise that you may have around your campsite. And then when you're done with it, simply turn it off and then tighten up the hatch. So you guys can see how big this pass-through space is here, but what about when you want to go to sleep? All of the panels are found right up here. The 2 smaller panels, which are going to be towards the tailgate side of the truck, those you can actually store up here while you're closing it. This one I have been leaving in place. It is a very tight fit and I'm still getting used to it. But if you drop one side down on the ledge here, the other side will then drop down as well. And then there is Velcro here. So if I push it in, it will keep that thing in place and keep it from sliding around. So that of course made the pass-through here just a little bit smaller, and I could see this actually being really useful as a stand-up desk. When I'm on the road for weeks at a time, I obviously have to be working while I'm traveling around, so this is about the perfect height to sit here and get some work done. Another idea is if it's raining, snowing, if the weather's just bad outside, I can open the fan just a little bit and get some air moving through here. I can crack the windows, and I can actually stand right here and cook, and the exhaust fan is just gonna suck everything out of here. Like I said, moisture in here doesn't really matter all that much because there's nothing that can rot or mold. So those are just 2 use cases that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure I will figure out a lot more as I start going on adventures with the Dwell Shell. Now, when you're ready for bed and really want to get this thing closed up, you take the final smaller panels here, simply drop them into place. I really actually like that these are split, so if you're sleeping with 2 people and a dog could probably fit up here. You can actually get in and out of the camper without waking your significant other. They also give you the option of adding a ladder, so if you wanted to get out of any 3 of these doors, you can mount a ladder to this thing too, or you can simply use a pass-through like I've been doing. I've been crawling up here, getting all of my bedding set up, and then when I'm ready to go to sleep, I take the final panel here and simply drop this one into place like that. Now the sleeping portion of this tent is absolutely massive. It does of course hang over the cab of my truck just a tiny bit, so I did a little bit of customization to my Sherpa rack to make sure that it wouldn't bump into anything when I'm off-road. But for a place to just sit around and hang out, take in the views of your campsite, it doesn't get much more comfortable than this. Now I'm about 5'10", 5'11" on a good day, and if I put my feet all the way down towards the end here, you'll notice the camera is sitting up in the corner of this thing and it's not even getting in the way. I can swing my feet around, so there's plenty of room there. And if I lay my head back, I have plenty of headroom here for a pillow. I still have foot room down here. If I stretch all the way out with my feet on the bottom, I actually have to stretch my arm completely out to touch this side of the camper. So space in here is definitely no issue at all. Like I said, there is a little bit of room for storage as well too. As of right now, the sleeping portion of this just comes with this kind of soft foam, so you could lay a bag on here and simply sleep on that. I've actually been using a Badger bed. It's the bedroll from Born Outdoors that I've done a video on in the past. That thing fits up here perfectly. But in the future, I think Antishanty is actually working on a mattress solution that will fit up here, which will allow you to still close the dwelling portion of the camper. There's just something about the feeling of this thing, the materials, the way everything is riveted together, the kind of soft touch optional headliner on here. Everything just feels really nice. It also gets very quiet in here too. You may notice a little bit of an echo from my microphone because again, this thing is hard-sided. But besides the echo, you may also notice that it is very quiet. Now with all these panels in place, I still have access to get to this light over here, so I can turn that off. I can dim it up and down, and then I can also change the color. I've been keeping this one pretty much red all the time because I'm only in the sleeping portion at night. And then when I'm ready to go to bed, I can turn it off from the kingpin light itself or the master switch down here. I don't want to talk too much about the modifications that I'm going to do to this yet because I'm still not entirely sure. I'm just going to use this thing for a few more nights before I start making those changes. But you'll notice with the Arctic Tern windows and the Dometic fan, you do have daylight coming in here. Sometimes I like to sleep in a little bit at my campsite, especially if the sun is coming up really early. So in the future, I will probably find some kind of shade solution for each of those windows as well as the fan up here. And then I will be sleeping in this thing like an absolute rock. I'm actually really excited for summer camping with this thing, so I can park on the edge of a cliff and then wake up to almost 360 views in the morning. When you wake up and you're ready to hop out of bed, all you have to do is remove one of the panels, hop down into the bed of the truck, and you can start getting ready. So this is the Antishanty Dwell Shell. Everything you need to know real quick. All riveted aluminum and aluminum composite design. It is a complete hard-sided and insulated canopy camper. You can pack it with a ton of different options like the cab side and tailgate window. There are different lighting options and powered options as well, like the USB-C ports up in the actual dwelling. I have lights all throughout this thing, a Dometic fan on the roof, and a 100-watt solar panel, which will keep my portable battery topped up at all times. You have a third brake light, you have a diesel hose pass-through to keep things extra warm in the winter months. There are roof rails up top where you can add even more accessories, and if you're gonna take away anything from this video, the main thing that you should know is that a hard-sided all-aluminum camper like this allows you to drive around and haul things like a truck, but then at the same time you can camp like a cozy cabin. I'm really excited about this setup because I'm going to be able to build it out even further, really tailor it towards how I like to camp. I've already put some of my own personal touches on it, but it's only going to get better from here. It's blending the worlds that I already know really well with a slide-in camper and a tonneau cover and a tent, and it's mashing those things up into a really cool, awesome, innovative product. I really haven't seen anything else out there that combines all of these things in one. So I'm stoked to get out there and adventure in my own Dwell Shell, and I'm gonna bring you guys along for the journey. So if you have any questions on Antishanty or the Dwell Shell, drop those in the comments down below. I'm going to try to answer anything as best as possible, and I will also be answering any questions, or basically I'll be taking requests for things that you want to see me do with the Dwell Shell over the next couple of months. I've already got one trip planned with this setup, and it's going to be awesome. We're exploring some deserts, and you know I love the desert. For even more detailed information, you can check out the video of the shop tour that I did with Antishanty, and you can also check out their website at the top link in the description down below. Now, if you guys are new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week, and I guess that's it for now. As always, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.